So a toast to college. The best 4, maybe 5. Do I need to say 6 years of your life? Now, before I get started, let me let you know that if you're spending 6 or more years here, you better come out with a whole lot of extra letters behind your name like I plan to, okay? Because I've been in school a very, very long time, okay? Almost my whole adult life. And I hope that I come out with a PhD, but I also hope that I've come out with some information and some wisdom and advice that I can share with you today if you'll allow me to do so. So, thinking back to my high school days of what I thought college would be one day, I thought, of course I'm going to go to class, and these people look way too happy to be in class. It's obviously not the 8 a.m. class. But I also thought that maybe, just maybe, I would get invited to one of these raucous, keg parties. And as of yet, I really haven't gotten invited. You guys probably get invited to that all the time. But don't feel sorry for me. Don't try to invite me, because at this point, I'd just be the weird old guy there. But I went to high school. I didn't actually finish high school. I left a little bit early. It wasn't my thing. But don't worry, I wasn't quite a slacker. I did work full-time and have since I was 15. And I also enrolled very quickly into the local community college. And Odessa College was a great experience for me because it allowed me to try a lot of different classes for very inexpensively, a lot of different majors, and build a lot of different skills. But I was a little bit younger than everyone else, and so I kind of went to class, went home, went to class, went home, and didn't really connect with my peers. Well, then I transferred to a 4-year institution, A&M Commerce, and great school, but didn't really get plugged in there either because most of my degree was online, so I, again, didn't connect with other students in that whole college experience. So it wasn't until I came here to Texas A&M University that I really learned that the college experience is about the people, the students, the organizations, and events like this TEDx conference that really make the difference. Now, somewhere along that college journey, I found beer. It was the day after my 21st birthday party, Mom, if you're watching. And I didn't really like beer at first. I didn't like the taste, but my friends drank it. It seemed like the cool adult thing to do, and so I drank beer as well. I heard Pat Green's song. Pat Green's over at Chili Fest right now, and he said, "Lone Star beer in my cereal, everything's going to be all right." So I tried pouring some beer in my Wheaties, and it was horrible. It did not work. But maybe, just maybe, the reason that I didn't like it is because when we think about college and beer, we think about just chugging down as much low-quality, watered-down beer as possible, the cheapest, the fastest, the easiest. And we think about playing games that are just supposed to get us wasty-faced, right? We don't think about just really stopping to enjoy and savor that experience, okay? When you drink to get drunk, you're going to have a bad time. But by the same token, if you go to college just to go to class and not be involved in anything else, you're going to have an equally bad time. You're going to miss out on all kinds of opportunities that are there for you. So let's just pause for a moment and think about how can we, like a good glass of beer, savor this college experience? Not binge on classes, but really just get to enjoy that experience. So in case there's anyone in the audience today who doesn't know what beer is, let me explain it to you real quick. Beer is water, 95% water, maybe a little bit more if you're drinking Natty or Keystone, right? I kid. But to that water, you add cereal grains. These have a lot of sugar in them. And you take this yeast with these little microorganisms, and they take that sugar and turn it into alcohol. Then you throw in some of these flowering plants called hops, and that adds the flavor, the aroma, and other benefits. So basically, if you take those same ingredients and combine them a little bit differently, you've got bread. So beer is bread that you drink that makes you feel kind of good, right? That's my definition. So what does beer have to do with college? Let's think about some of the things that you may be majoring in. So beer is agriculture and science. So all of these cereal grains, the hops, they have to be grown by a farmer. So there's an agricultural background to there. But there's also a biology and a chemistry to making that perfect glass of beer. So those are techniques that you need to master. And I think about New Republic Brewery just around the corner from us here in College Station. And they have an astrophysicist on staff. They've got guys with a background in agriculture on staff. And so they understand these principles. Now, does it take an astrophysicist to pour a good glass of beer? No, but I argue that it doesn't hurt, right? Beer is also business and engineering. So you look at Karbach Brewing down in Houston. This is one of the fastest growing breweries in the nation. And so they've expanded well beyond their best projections for their business plan. So they've had to revamp, to expand facilities, expand distribution. And there's all kinds of equipment in that brewery that has to be maintained and up and running order. So you can have a great brewer like Eric Warner here, head brewer at Karbach. But it takes more than just being a great brewer. He has to have a staff there with him who has business and engineering acumen to be able to get the products to market and make a little bit of a profit there. Beer is also arts and culture, and I love this photo from Austin Beer Works. They have that hanging up in their tap room there. But because when you see beer, you also see people wanting to be creative around that beer. And so this is a little bit blurry photo, but this is at Double Horn Brewery. I just visited the other day, and we were admiring these art prints, and the guy turns around from the bar, and he's actually the one that drew those. You see people wanting to express themselves in art and also in music around breweries. I mean, just even think about how many songs you know, especially country music, about beer, to know that beer is art and culture. And then beer is also health and wellness. And you're saying, Kevin, you can't tell me that there's anything healthy about beer. But absolutely there is. Now, I'm not a doctor, at least not yet, and definitely not that kind of doctor. But I will say that there are studies published that show the health benefits of a glass of beer every now and then. So in moderation, it can be a very healthy thing. And, you know, there's some beers like my favorite, Real Ale Fireman's 4, which is very low calorie for the alcohol volume that you can consume. Beer is also community and social sciences, and you can hardly go to a brewery today that doesn't have a community of people built around it. And you would never go to a steakhouse and think about playing horseshoes while you're waiting for your ribeye with the table next to you. But when you go to a brewery, absolutely. People come together, they go to bars, and they talk, they chat, they meet each other. And so there's very much a community aspect to a community of beer. And you can have places like Black Star Co-op, which is down in Austin. And in Austin, you can buy into this brewery, buy shares and become an owner. So this is truly a community-owned venture. And beer is also law and politics. So if you've ever tried to buy a beer here in Texas on Sunday, you know that all too well. But there's places all across the United States where the sale of beer is at least limited, if not completely banned. And so guys like Michael Peticolis up in Dallas area know this all too well. He is a lawyer turned brewer who has really tried to change the tide of some of the laws in the state of Texas as they appeal to brewing. And beer is also education, right? So where else can you go that you learn about the product that you're consuming, from the farm all the way to the factory? You don't go to that steakhouse and walk in the back room and meet the butcher and get to know the cow, right? But at a brewery, you go to a place like Adelbert's in Austin, and you definitely learn about the product, you learn about the distribution, and you might even learn about the owner's brother, who the brewery is named after, and all the beers are stories from his life. Beer is also religion, and I'm not just talking about breweries that were opened up in old churches, but scripture of all denominations tells us about the dangers and cautions us not to get too drunk. Obviously good advice to keep in mind. And although some religions prohibit beer, it's not exactly of the devil, unless maybe you're drinking devil's backbone here. And sometimes there's even a patron saint of beer. So St. Arnold, he said, water is evil, drink beer instead. Beer is also history, and this is a site in LaGrange, Texas, just down the road from us. And this is a kind of great place to visit and see the historic ways that Texans lived 100 or more years ago. But it's way older than that. Beer is the founding of our civilization. Okay, we decided we liked beer, and so instead of being nomads who went around hunting and gathering, we settled down into settlements so we could have time to grow barley and ferment beer. So if you live in a permanent structure, well, you better thank beer. And if you live in America, you might want to thank beer as well, because beer is the reason that our pilgrims were able to make it over to the New World. Water on those ships like the Mayflower would have spoiled and gotten full of bacteria and made people very sick. But because of the preservative qualities of alcohol and the hops, beer was able to make it over. In fact, some of these ships had a gallon of beer every day for every man, woman, and child on board. And so that allowed us to settle in the New World. And then, you know, we weren't always so nice to beer in America. We had prohibition, and so beer was banned to be manufactured there for some time. But the interesting side effect of prohibition is this is one of the first times that women really rallied around a political cause. So they were on both sides of the issue, but they came out and were political, and it really led to the women's being allowed to vote in the country. So suffrage was because of beer. And brewers today look back at these ancient brewing techniques or older types of beer and really try to learn to mimic those things. So a lot of different subjects in college, right? This is all the things we're majoring in, tie back to beer in some way. But I also mentioned that college isn't just about what happens in the classroom. It's about those people that you get to know. It's about those organizations that you join and that other education that we call here at Texas A&M University. And so what can we learn about our personal growth and development from beer? Well, first of all, everything in moderation, okay? And I can't stress this enough, that your brain is your most valuable organ in your body, and it enables you to have a good college education. So don't ruin the brain by chugging a pitcher of beer, right? Do things in moderation, and for some people, that moderation amount might be 0. It's okay not to drink, and no one should ever pressure you otherwise. Okay? Discover your style in college, and learn to appreciate differences in others. Okay, I didn't like beer at first because I hadn't found the right style of beer, and there are so many styles that are out there. And even once you settle on a style, then there's so many varieties of brands and things you can choose, and every town you go to has a brewery with a little bit different take on that. So as you learn to appreciate these things, also know that college is a time where you can discover your own personal style, and then maybe refine it to something a little bit more professional if you want. But it's also a time to have new experiences and learn about others. And so I get to be an advisor for a women's organization. I'm the only guy in the room, and so I get to understand their perspective. Or I've been a facilitator for the Student Conference on Latino Affairs, where I've been engaging with students who have a different upbringing than me. So learn to appreciate those differences in others while you're in college. Find a niche for yourself and learn how to fill that niche in whatever community you happen to be in. If you need a 99 pack of beer, there's only one place you can go get that, Austin Beer Works. If you need a sour beer, go check out Blue Owl Brewing. And then if you happen to be in the College Station area and are an Aggie fan and part of the 12th Man, you might want to check out 13th Can from Brazos Valley. Good marketing appeal and a good way to differentiate their product out there in the market. So find something that you're good at. I found the thing I'm good at is giving a campus tour, and something that I do just about as well as anyone else here. And because I found that niche and am able to fulfill that, I've been able to meet great guys like James Ng here. He's class of 1946, traveled all over the world, worked on the Apollo missions and the Star Wars space defense system. And you get those great experiences when you find that niche market for yourself. Build a community around you and find people and things that complement your skills and abilities, okay? You can't go to those breweries without finding food trucks and musicians and artists and all these complementing services and opportunities. And you can also find things like Real Ale Brewing and Freetail Brewing, who have combined to make this new release, Real Tail Brewing. So people who can collaborate, and this actually comes out this week, you can collaborate and make something better than the two people on their own could ever do. So one of my chief collaborators here on campus is this guy, Ed, and I love Ed to death, and we've had great experiences together, but he balances me out. We're able to collaborate. My strengths fit his weaknesses. So find that person for you while you're in college, or persons like that. Do good. Take the opportunity to volunteer. You've got time right now as a college student. You'll never have this much time ever again with jobs and kids and all those type of things. You look at Noble Ray Brewing. They had a coat donation drive this winter for the homeless in Dallas, but I also found that they, in their tap room, allowed people to volunteer. So people who didn't have enough job experience for a resume go in there and volunteer to at least get something to put on their resume. So think about the opportunities you have to volunteer, organizations that you can serve in, and even places that you can intern. I interned here in the Dallas County Extension Office. I didn't get paid a dime, but it actually has helped me in my career so many times over and over again. And so I use my time as an investment in my life. College is also a time you can develop good habits for yourself and develop a whole variety of different skills. And so just like Hop and Grain's barrel aging program, developing a good habit takes some time. Okay, 4 months or more in that barrel, habits take time to develop. So know that these things are going to be a process and you just don't pick them up overnight. One cool habit that I think you should pick up is consistency. So a Budweiser beer from my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri is going to taste exactly the same on the West Coast as it does on the East Coast because they're very consistent with the product. People want you to be consistent. They want to know what to expect from you. They don't like flaky people. But there's also something to be said for spontaneity. Jester King Brewery has a spontaneous fermentation program where they allow some wild and weird things to happen to their beer just with the spontaneous yeast cultures. So it's okay to do some wild and weird things in college too, again, in moderation. But again, you've got more time than you'll ever have in the rest of your life. So this is the time to develop those habits. This is the time to set your foot on the right track. And if anyone has any good habits for writing a dissertation, I'm definitely all ears on that. And just as there's a variety of beers out there in the world, there's a variety of skills that go into beer. From farming, to brewing, to packaging, to distribution, to marketing, to holding events at the brewery, to advertising, all of these different things go into this one thing, this simple thing, this glass of beer that you're chugging down and not thinking twice about. So think about all those different skills. And I look back at my career in my office and I think about all the things that I have done in my life and how they've somehow led to what I'm doing today. And that's such a cool experience to know that it takes a variety of skills to do what you're doing. Combining your passions. I like beer, I like college. I found a way to do that. So find your way to make two things that maybe are divergent come together. My wife is a yoga instructor. I like beer. There's even things we can do together, right? And then engage with others, and this is so important. You are on a campus right now with thousands of the smartest and most interesting people that you'll ever meet in your life. And so whether you're getting together with them over a glass of beer or if you're meeting them in an academic setting, you never know where those encounters with others will lead, what kind of amazing experiences and the kind of people that you'll meet, including Air Force generals on Kyle Field during midnight yell, who knows, in a tuxedo. So you never know where those chance encounters will lead. So make sure that you're engaging with others during your time. Be a lifelong learner, and in that learning, gain new perspectives. Again, something simple as a beer can be so complex. Who thought that, you know? So everything that you do, think about what those lessons learned can be. Look at your college experience from a new perspective. It's not about the classrooms, or it's not about the buildings on campus, but it's about those people who influence you, the people that you work with, and the people that you can influence. So I hope that you craft yourself a great college experience. And you know, I realized that I never really finished my toast earlier. So here's to the organizers of the TEDx conference, our audience here, those watching at home on the internet. I hope that you get your buzz not just from beer, but from education and life. Cheers to you. And I hope that I'll see you at the Dixie Chicken afterwards today.